Hi, this is Nancy K. Smith, and I am interviewing Dan Paulson. Dan's with InVision Development International, and he is the owner and executive and leadership coach, where you actually work with companies to help them get through problems in their businesses, right?
As about as good as I can put it. Yeah, I work with a lot of business owners to help them get out of their own way. So typically it's been, successful companies that have reached a plateau that they're now kind of getting stuck in their minutia and then help them figure out how to optimize that. Of course, our world has kind of been upended the last several weeks. So now it's a completely different story. It's really kind of helping triage business define how they're going to survive, if they're shut down for several weeks or several months, how to pivot what they're doing, maybe find opportunities where they can still generate revenue, even if they can't go out and meet with people physically. So it's been a little bit crazy the last several weeks.
And pivot is kind of the word I'm hearing everywhere. So it ideally describes where we all are right now. Like, we were doing this, but now we need to do something else. And that's where you come in. So one of the big questions I think a lot of people are experiencing, we are in this age of social distancing. We've now been told we're going to need to do this until the end of April. How do people who are used to those interpersonal, like the one-on-one reaction or interaction, how do we do this from a distance? How do you do business from a distance?
Well, it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be different for, of course, different types of businesses. I think of, I've got some friends and clients that are like martial arts studios, hair designers. How do you cut hair when you can't meet with anybody to cut their hair? So there's a lot of women right now that are freaking out because they're due for a color in a couple weeks, and how are we going to do that?
Yes.
And in that situation, it was working with her to figure out what are things she can do in this short period of time. So first of all, how can she educate her customers on ways that they can address this in the near term future? And then is there an opportunity to essentially help style virtually? How do you work with somebody who's at home, giving them some basics? Obviously, you can't cut their hair, nor would you recommend that they cut their hair. But maybe there's things you can do color-wise, or you can do styling-wise to at least help make it look good. Because let's face it, you and I are sitting here talking on Zoom, but there's a lot of other people that are working virtually right now as well. I heard Walmart has seen the sales of shirts and tops go up dramatically, but pants has dropped off. So everyone's getting dressed 50% because they know they're going to be on a video call. And it's really kind of changed how we're working together. I think there is a huge opportunity here. The challenge, again, is going to be those businesses that do need that physical touch, and how do they morph that into something that they can do virtually, still make money at, so that way when things turn back on and people are able to go out again and socialize and we can touch each other and hug each other and it's all going to be okay, what's that going to look like? And that's where really right now, take the opportunity in your business and really define where your strengths are at, what you can change into that will still be relevant even after all this is said and done. I've told other people, adversity is the invention of opportunity. And right now we have the greatest opportunity to really look at how we do things and do them differently. And this is true for large companies as well, where, those virtual meetings, how can we streamline those meetings? Because I'm sure you've been in it as much as I have. When I was in corporate world, you had a meeting to schedule another meeting, to have more meetings to schedule more meetings. And it really wasn't productive, but that's what we feel production is in a business environment.
Right. So to turn it into the virtual world, you talked a little bit about Zoom. Are there any other things that, I know some companies do use Microsoft Teams and that kind of thing.
There's Teams, there's Skype, there's Zoom, and I'm sure there's a couple other ones out there that people are using, GoToMeeting, things like that. Zoom seems to be the big one right now because, especially for a small business, you can actually use Zoom for free if you keep the meetings under 40 minutes. Not that the cost is really high. I think I have a paid membership and it's less than a couple $100 a year to get full benefit of Zoom.
I actually, I'm going to speak to that because I just last week paid for a year and it was less than $150.
There you go. So you get a lot of tools to use when you step out of that free world.
Right.
And you can extend your meetings longer. Not that I recommend you extend them much longer because it's harder, especially even something like this where you can see what's going on. But I can turn my camera off. I could go walk around if I wanted to.
Right.
And I think as you pull more people into a meeting, it gets a lot easier to disconnect,
Right.
because as a facilitator, how are you going to keep track of
Right.
what's going on? So when you're looking at virtual world,
Mm-hmm.
communication is going to be key on this. Communication from the leadership side on what's going on, transparency, explaining, when we have meetings, why we have meetings, and the purpose, the outcome that they're going to have. And I would tell anyone this, whether it's an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting, is every meeting should have an outcome. It should have a stop time. There should be somebody, tracking what's going on through the meeting, taking notes. There should be a timekeeper that's keeping track of the time so we don't get carried away. But when you get to the end of that meeting, have your outcome.
Right.
Don't kick the outcome into scheduling another meeting to kick it into another meeting and so on and so forth, because that's what we've gotten used to in corporate America, is where we'll talk about it ad nauseum, and then when it comes time to make a decision, nobody wants to make a decision, and then we schedule another meeting to do that. When we're working remotely, there's a lot more distractions that are going on. Most of us probably have kids at home that are in school right now and probably not too happy to be working virtually right now. There might be other family members at home that are also conducting business. So we really have to understand the dynamics right now have changed dramatically. It's not somebody sitting in their cubicle waiting for something to happen. There's probably enough other distractions going on besides what you have.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we were actually more productive?
Actually, that's the outlying or the silver lining from everything that's going on right now, is we should be able to get more productive. That's something I've stressed for people for years. And even I've even talked about this and wrote about this in a couple different blogs, is this is an opportunity really to look at how you get people more productive, and maybe how you allow more virtual work to happen, because the world's been changing for the last couple decades. No longer do we work from 9 to 5. Nancy, you're a realtor. You get calls late in the evening, early in the morning, on weekends. I'm much the same way. And I think there's a lot of other people in this country that feel the same way too, that they're getting calls and emails throughout the entire day, and they no longer work from 9 to 5. Well, we still pay people dollars per hour. And really, we should base it on value and productivity. And this is an opportunity to really move that direction. It's understanding how you truly measure what somebody does for you and how you reward them for the actions they take. And if they can do that in an office, that's wonderful. If they can do that on a beach, that's wonderful too. But I think we're going to shift where no longer do we need to see that person sitting in that desk to know that they're being productive, in which case they're mostly not. So how do we maneuver our business around? And it's going to change the dynamics. And I think the negative side of real estate is people are going to realize they probably don't need an office, or don't need as big of an office. And that's going to change, again, how we work and interact together.
Well, I want to talk about one thing quick, and then I want you to share how people can get in touch with you, because this is a great dialogue for many people who are in business, whether they're a business owner or not. I think that they can all take their career to a next level by getting coaching. I firmly believe in that. You are running something that you call Hunker Down Happy Hour on Fridays at 4 o'clock.
Yes, I am.
I want to tell you, I sat in on your happy hour this last Friday. I got so much out of it, because it's people from around the country that you work with that I was able to get tips from, like from the banking industry, that I could pass on to people that I know. Things that I heard, I went and called other people and said, oh my gosh, I just heard this. So if somebody wants to get in on the Hunker Down Happy Hour, drinks are optional, first of all. And
for some people, for the rest
people.
of us, not so much.
So how do they do that? How do they get in on it?
Well, they're happy to reach out to me. And actually this week, I'm probably actually going to publish the link. So we do it via Zoom. And because I have a paid membership, I can have up to 100 people on it. We've been having, I think, anywhere between 6 to 10 people join us in the few weeks that I've been doing this. And they should also understand the structure. This is as much social right now. It's more like a networking event than it is talking specifics about business. But obviously, we're all business professionals and everyone's going through the same crap right now. So it's kind of a learning session of, well, how are you dealing with this? Or how is your company dealing with this? Or what are new things that you're trying? Because I think that's what's valuable. When we get together on the social side, we can laugh, we can joke around, we can have fun, we can remember what it's like not to be worried about all this other stuff that's happening in our world. And it allows us to connect with people. And then on top of that, like you said, if there's somebody that has something, a resource, and they're willing to share it, that can help somebody else out, because we need to stick together on this. We need to work together on this. If you are going to be an island and just going to pump up your chest and say you're going to get through it by yourself, you're probably not. That's the reality. You know, we're talking about, you know, this is being recorded at the end of March. They're talking about end of April before the government turns the lights back on. I will be really surprised if it's longer, or I won't be surprised if it's longer. I think, you know, April will be the starting point. It really depends on how this all works through, but we should plan on it being longer, because I would rather plan for the worst and expect the best than the other way around, hope for the best and the worst case scenario happens. So we really do have to change how we're doing things. And the Hunker Down Happy Hour, again, is a chance for you to connect with people maybe you don't know, learn what they're doing. Maybe you can apply that to yourself. Maybe there's some synergies even where you find business connections where you can share those connections and help each other out. So that's really what it's all about. And again, it's Friday afternoon, is something fun to do. So why not do it?
Right. Well, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, there's a couple different ways. Obviously, calling's probably the easiest right now. I am one of those people that'll still pick up the phone. So you can call me at 608-467-0223 is my office number, and that will ring through to my cell phone as well. You can also find me at InVisionBusinessDevelopment.com. So INVISION Business Development, all one word, .com. Or Hey Dan, What's Next? And actually on Hey Dan, What's Next, before this all started, I actually put out a little presentation for what to do in case of a recession. Now, some of those things will apply. Obviously, we've kind of flipped the world on its ear right now, so there's some more drastic measures we have to take. But what I'm telling any business owner is please reach out. If you need help, you're going to get help. If I can't help you, I've got resources. I can find somebody who can. Like I said, we're all in this together. I'm doing my best to really just kind of help take care of those smaller businesses that maybe don't have the resources right now, and they're just trying to figure out how they get through to the next payroll, or how they make sure that they pay the next bill, so that way they can still be here when this is all said and done. And to me, that's far more important at this point, and that's where I'm stepping in to help out as much as I can.
Perfect. I always like to end with a positive message if you feel like sharing one. Do you have one?
You got, well, I have several, but probably the one I would stick with right now is, in the face of adversity, there's always opportunity. And if you go hide under a rock, you will never see where those opportunities happen. So you've got to keep your head up, keep looking around. The other thing to remember is we're all going through this right now. I don't think there is a single business that hasn't been impacted in some way, shape, or form. And we've just got to keep working the problem. And through that, you will not only come out the other side in much better condition, but you might find that you can find ways to be more productive and more profitable in that process. Right. So that's what I hope you take away.
Well, that's very good. That's very good. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and have a great day. I'll be in touch with you soon. All right. Look for me on Friday.
On Friday. Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
You bet. Thank you.